The election is over,
but the battle continues.
Let's talk about it, y'all.
Middle America.
You ain't black.
I don't know what I said.
The first time ever any...
What are you people?
We're Americans.
We are Americans indeed. My name is Vincent.
I'm Soraya.
And this is Middle America with Vin
and Sori.
We are not left wing.
We're not right wing.
We're just
right.
Very good. We've been very coordinated.
It's like it was planned.
Dear listener, you could tell just from that introduction, you're dealing with some of the most erudite YouTubers you've ever seen in your short life. All right, dear listener, as we always say, if you want to be part of the Middle America community, you can do so free of charge. Facebook.com/AmericaMiddle. It is a free speech environment. Please be careful if you're in a situation where you're not in the mental headspace to deal with. It can get pretty crunchy out there sometimes. No problem with you stepping out, etc. Just wanted to warn everybody, etc. All right. This is just going to be pure stream of thought, to be honest with you. TYT covered a conversation between Kellyanne Conway and all the rest about the situation that happened about a month ago relative to the Trump election. So we're going to watch the commentary, and you know what we do. It is what it is. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens.
We elected the most dangerous criminal human being, corrupt human being that America has ever elected. And Kevin, you helped him.
Stage 5 Trump derangement syndrome.
Yes, I get it. Sure.
No
one is figuring
out. Yeah, that's right. I think you guys are bad people who are bad. Yes, are bad for the country. Yes, that's right. To attack the Constitution.
Stop.
Donald Trump.
Stop.
Yeah, people.
Stop.
Yes,
no,
that's right.
This is what they do.
Because most of our people listening to this are Democrats who are miserable, who are...
Yo, that Kellyanne Conway. I'll tell you what. That woman knows how to get under folks' skin like you would not believe. She had Shorty tweaking out there. We continue.
Press, who cut off the news, who are talking to 3 therapists a day.
When Republicans lose, we never say we have to have therapy.
You just say you didn't lost. You just say you didn't lose.
You're out of touch with the public.
I mean, I agree and disagree with that. Like, after 2020, I think it's ridiculous for Republicans to be like, just handle the loss like a man or whatever. It's like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Your man didn't concede. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what happened on J6 is what happened. It is what it is. I'm not here to relitigate it. All I'm saying is that's a pretty ignorant statement in my view. We continue.
This election was a rejection of wokeness, and people, every state went more red except Nebraska and Washington State.
Things got super heated during the 2024.
Well, this should be interesting. I want to see how Anna interprets this. Anna has had I'm not going to say a rightward shift, but a paradigm shift. She's definitely had a paradigm shift, and we're here for it for sure. But I wonder how she's going to interpret all the drama, as they say.
The drama. We
continue. The horror.
The absolute horror.
Election panel discussion at the New York Times Deal Book Summit. But there were a ton of important and, in my opinion, valuable points made during this discussion, which I definitely want to talk about here. Now, when it comes to one of the panelists, Van Jones, he made a lot of great points, and we're going to go to those videos and show you those great points in just a minute. But unfortunately, he made one disastrous point. And I just want to get that out of the way because, Van, what are you doing? Let's watch.
The other thing that we were able to do with Kamala on the doors was Donald Trump's a little baby billionaire. He's a little billionaire. You want to be rich? You're a young black man. You want to be an owner? You want to be an entrepreneur? You want to be a provider? Why are you following this little baby billionaire? Kamala Harris represents real billionaires. She represents California. She represents the biggest bunch of billionaires in the world. Vote for her and donate to her. And so then you begin to link into the aspirations of these young men who don't like what Donald Trump says, but they like what he's been able to do with his life.
She dropped out of California, didn't she?
Right. I didn't even think about that. She dropped out of the presidential the primary in 2020 because she was going to lose. And what is this argument?
She went in debt by because
she had $2 billion.
Yeah.
Listen.
What is happening? Why would you said that?
Not a very good commercial for the first woman president campaign.
Same thing with Kamala and billions. Don't put those two together.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. But man, second of all, what a tone-deaf thing to say.
Yeah.
In a time when the UNC, the guy that shot that dude and killed him, and the whole damn country's spiking the football and celebrating about it, do you think that the country's in the mood for billionaires? Oh, that's the selling point. Trump is a baby billionaire, but we're in bed with all these other billionaires. I think a lot of people don't understand the difference in the mind of a Trump supporter, because in their mind, Trump is rich already enough, so he's not going to be corrupted because he was the one buying politicians. Mm-hmm. Say what you want. I'm just delivering the news. We continue.
That was bad. That was really bad. And if you guys caught it in the very beginning, he's referring to what they were messaging while canvassing for Kamala Harris. People don't love billionaires. Okay, that's not what is appealing about Donald Trump, that he's a billionaire, right? What's appealing about Donald Trump?
He's a baby billionaire.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Is he pretends like he fights against the corruption and the billionaires.
Yeah, that was the great irony of Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Yeah.
That they're, in my opinion, oftentimes pretending to be populist while they're actually, well, Trump's not even a billionaire, but while they're spectacularly wealthy, right? But the lesson you got out of this election is, let's highlight how much billionaires love the Democratic Party. You could not have learned a more wrong lesson. Literally
Totally
impossible.
out of touch,
The very
Brett.
worst lesson to learn.
Absolutely,
Totally out
but
of
I want to be
touch.
fair to Van Jones, because throughout the entire conversation, he was actually making really great points, including what you're about to hear. So just to kind of set this up, Jones was making a point about how there is a disconnect between, young voters who tend to get their information from various platforms versus older voters who usually rely on traditional legacy media outlets. And what I love about the clip you're about to watch is the pushback he gets from Alexis McGill Johnson, who is the president from Planned Parenthood. Take a look.
I got a teenage son. I asked him, who are the most influential people in the world today? I'm thinking to myself, he's going to say Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z. He says, Kai Cent, Aiden Ross.
It's Kai Cenat, bro. Like, you're literally proving it right now. Allahu Akbar.
Inksy and Sketch. I don't know who he's talking about. I said, what platforms are you on? He goes, I'm on Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. I said, that sounds like you need to go to the hospital. What are these platforms? I'm telling you guys, the mainstream has become fringe, and the fringe has become mainstream.
As an organization that reaches.
Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Mm-hmm. Interesting. And now everybody sees why there was such a hullabaloo and why the neoliberal media apparatus, who were last year calling Elon Musk Tony Stark, are now also saying that he is also Hitler. So there's now you see why they were so angry about him buying Twitter. We continue.
Millions of people every single day to have conversations around bodily autonomy. We are all on digital, right? So the idea that the Harris campaign was not on digital, that the IEs like Future Forward were not on digital, and spending millions of dollars to reach those folks, to hire influencers, to bring them to the DNC, right? And have a totally different kind of outreach to young folks and people of color much differently than we have seen in the past. It doesn't mean that we need to know who Tank and Please and all the folks are, but they are out there and they are having those conversations.
Nobody is saying that you didn't do any digital.
She just proved the point right there.
Correct,
Well,
Sadak.
what she said.
What they are saying is that the Joe Rogan interview had massive impact on voter turnout, on where people went, et cetera, And she did the Call Her Daddy podcast, in which she basically handed the girl an hour's worth of questions that she'd rehearsed. She then built the studio because she didn't want to travel. I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, right?
Oh yeah, I agree.
What's up, Jax?
I think
Good
the
to see you,
fact
baby.
that she said we don't need to know who these influencers are. What do you mean? Don't you think if you did, it might influence things the way that you want them? I mean, you got to know who who the next generation is interested in.
100%.
What's influencing
100%.
them?
100%. Oh my goodness.
Okay, I mean, look, I completely disagree with Johnson. This notion of we don't need to understand anything about the zeitgeist or where people are getting their news or information. We can spend millions of dollars to hire those online influencers to do the work for us. How did that work out for you? I can't believe she said that, but what do you think, Jake?
Oh no, that was hilarious. That was one of the funniest things that's ever happened. So first of all, I love that moment where Van Jones, has an epiphany, but is mainly trying to force others into that epiphany. Guys, we think we're, the central point of this country, right? And everybody cares what we think, and what we say is the most important thing. But while we weren't paying attention, we became the fringe. People aren't even listening to us anymore. They're actually listening to the guys that we think are hilarious. Like, who are these people? Like, what are they, Ren and Stimpy? Right? I mean, we still get that to this day.
Who's saying that?
We were the first partner for YouTube. We're the original YouTubers. My God, back in the day, for the last 20 years, YouTube, right? Like anything will come out of YouTube. Well, what happened now? Now you guys are the tiny.
Well, everything did come out of your guys' mouth when you first started talking, bro. When you first got on YouTube, bro, you were like a political Howard Stern, and you reveled in that. So, I mean, let's not revise history here, baby. We continue.
French, and I love it. I'm here for it because you guys suck.
But
you support the rich and the powerful and the establishment that we all despise. That's why you were overturned. That's why people said, oh, I hate those guys. They're a bunch of liars. Let me go listen to some other folks. And they listened to some folks that led them astray, and they listened to some folks that made sense. But now we're in an actual marketplace of ideas, and not just like the tiny guardrails that the establishment media have. Oh, you're a Republican? Do you love?
I agree. And again, this was at the heart of the consternation relative to Elon Musk. These people understood that they had mainstream media, and their only vulnerability was social media. And so they did their best to make sure that Mr. Musk would not take Twitter. And then right after that, a lot of people don't remember, but there was the disinformation czar that Mr. Biden, nominated and set up, and her job was to overwatch social media for mis and disinformation. Yeah, and then pretty much there was going to be blood in the streets, so they couldn't do it. We could see.
Corporations, good. Do you, Democrat, love corporations, good. You don't love corporations, get out of here, you radical, you lefty, righty loser. Get him out of here, that stupid populist, okay? So, and then, but my favorite was, but we hired a whole bunch of influencers.
Oh my God, I know.
And we had those people parrot our talking points, and and we had our robot.
The other thing about the influencers is that if you are the type of influencer that gets invited to a Kamala outing, all you're doing is paying somebody to preach to the choir. Those people are already decided. They think Trump is Hitler, et cetera, et cetera. The reason the Joe Rogan thing was effective is because there was a lot of people that hadn't made their decision yet.
Because there are channels that won't go along with the party line.
Correct.
So you can't pay them to put out your propaganda.
Correct.
So if you could pay them, then they're already those people anyway.
Seduct.
Yeah.
Seduct.
Politician go out and go, I have my talking points. I am now talking to an influencer that has my talking points as well. And this is going to be how we do online media. Yeah, good luck with that crap.
God, we hired Harry Sisson. Are you guys still complaining? What are you complaining about? By the way, I don't know if they actually hired. We don't know. But
we don't know.
what we do know, even before that admission we just heard, that they were hiring influencers, and they thought that that was the digital outreach they needed to do to get young people on board.
What a misunderstanding.
By the way, how about you actually offer policies that would be appealing to young people, get them jazzed up about showing up to vote for you. But anyway, let's move on to more of the discussion. I know we're focusing a lot on Van Jones, and there were approximately, let me do the count, 38 people on that panel. But Van Jones really did stand out to me. He did make a lot of good points. Here's another one.
We pushed all our rebels out of this party. We had a rebellion in our party in 2016. It was called.
What have I been saying? This is the Trump to Bernie pipeline. The people who voted for Trump in 16 were primed and ready to vote for Bernie in 16, and the Republicans did their damnedest to make sure that didn't happen with the Never Trump campaign, and which we're about to see a Never Trumper. The Democrats came in with the super delegates and said, no, we don't care about you, Bernie. We don't care. That's what happened. It's like, we need a Joe Rogan. You need a Bernie Sanders. Y'all had him.
Yep.
Now he's sitting here,
drove him out of there.
Quote, tweeting Emos. Go die.
Called Bernie Sanders. You had a rebellion in your party in 2016. It was called Donald Trump. Your rebel won. Our rebel lost. And then since then, the rebels in our party have been pushed out. RFK was a rebel inside of our party. He wanted to run against Joe Biden fair and square. The DNC wouldn't let him. Pushed him out.
There it is. There's the democracy. There's the democracy. It was interesting. They had this poll that says, are you going to vote because you're afraid for democracy? And, a bunch of people said yes. And so the liberal media was like, see, everybody thinks that Trump is dangerous. Well, that's not what the thing said. It said, do you think there's a danger to democracy? And the majority of people said yes
there is.
because of Biden. And this is why. You guys had no primary, and you foisted this woman upon us.
Yeah.
We continue.
Yeah.
You can walk down the list. Don't forget, Elon Musk was a Andrew Yang Democrat 4 years ago.
Thank you. Thank you.
Drove him out too, I guess.
But you drove him out as well, sir. We continue.
He's out. You can walk down the list. Joe Rogan was very favorable toward Michelle Obama. He was a Bernie guy. He's out. So there's something that's happened in this party where the rebels in this party no longer feel like they have a place. And we've got to be able to talk about that stuff, honestly.
I think he makes a really great point. And, Donald Trump for the right really is a rebellious figure, especially because he took a party that was really known for its neoconservatism and clowned on it. And I think that brought in a lot of people who actually previously voted for Democrats, previously voted for Barack Obama, for instance.
Yeah.
Or in the case of 2016, I know for a fact that there were individuals who voted for Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primary, saw what they did to Bernie Sanders in the 2016 Democratic primary,
100%.
and decided to vote for the one other anti-establishment person, and that was Donald Trump.
100%.
So look, a lot of people love to beat up on Van Jones, and there's a reason for that, because he's the only one that actually has different opinions, and he's the one that's closest to a populist. That's why that point about the billionaires was so ironic, right?
Totally.
But when you have different opinions, sometimes you'll miss like that one, right? And I give a lot of grace to that. Because then his other opinions are terrific, and he's the only one on that panel saying it. So a point about the outsiders is indisputable. And so the Democratic Party, will they learn that lesson? Even Anita Dunn in that discussion was like, oh, we've got to learn some lessons in responding to Van, et cetera. Like, you're not going to learn any lessons. The lesson you're going to learn is, hey, let's put Pete Buttigieg in a flannel shirt, and that way he'll seem like more of a populist.
Yeah, I saw somebody talking about, like, they were talking about we need a Joe Rogan or whatever, or the politician that you elect in 2028 has to be able to go on Joe Rogan. And literally somebody floated out Buttigieg. Can you imagine Buttigieg sitting down at the Joe Rogan Experience? Man, that's over with. That's over with.
And Gavin Newsom, instead of going to French Laundry, maybe we'll have him pretend to do his own laundry at home, and that way they'll be populist. No. You're not getting it. Handing a new script to the same actors is not change.
100%, yes, I totally agree. That's the problem, the actors, right? The elitists within the Democratic Party that have now been associated with the Democratic.
Yeah, Cenk is kind of late on where Anna's at. I have complete belief that what's going on with Anna is real. Cenk, on the other hand,
Yeah.
a week before the elections, they got into a big giant jihad about Trump being a fascist. Good Lord.
So yeah.
Democratic Party's brand. So when, you know, we did a story earlier this week in regard to progressives in Congress and how they're trying to get the DNC to go back to its roots as a working class party. The Democrats go back to its roots as a working class party. You know, the problem isn't just the messaging. It's the policies that are promised, the policies that are promised and are never delivered, and more importantly, the various prominent figures within the Democratic Party that are just oozing elitism and disdain for working class Americans. And when
I mean, we're watching this podcast called The Bulwark, and it's actually run by Never Trumpers. And one of the things that they kept going back to was they were mocking the price of eggs, and they were like, you know, like they were talking about the so-called inflation, the so-called recession, whatever.
Something. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were laughing about it.
Unbelievable. We continue.
think of someone as snakish as Gavin Newsom, I don't think, oh, a warrior for the working class. Hell no. But what do we hear from the Democratic establishment in regard to who the likely candidates will be in the primary for the next election? Right? We hear about Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, they got Gavin Newsom. This is a dude that created the hellscape that we know of California right now, where Anna got attacked, where people are using the bathroom in the streets, etc., etc. That guy's the guy that they're saying we're going to take it home with him. Okay, well, let's see. Let's see.
Josh Shapiro, I know you kind of like him. I don't. It's just more of the same.
Yeah. Look, Josh Shapiro pick is in the context of Kamala Harris as an establishment person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't even consider that she would that it was like, I know Tim Walz was a possibility, but I was shocked that she picked him. Right. So that's when you're forced to fish in the establishment pool. But in a 2028 primary, we're not forced to do that at all.
Oh, okay, I get it. So you mean in that particular context?
Yeah, of course.
Got it.
If you remember, I was saying like, hey, Biden has dementia. It's super obvious. We're past the point where a progressive can get in and really do a real run.
Right.
I said any functioning human being other than Biden, because it was in that context where it was already too late. But for 2028, it is not at all too late. We need to run as aggressively as we can a populist candidate and never accept.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, man, but your party is you guys don't have an organizing principle, right? You don't have an organizing principle. You guys had 2 opportunities with Joe Rogan. First time you guys didn't do Joe Rogan was because he was denounced because 5 years previous he made a homophobic or racist comment.
Mm-hmm.
We were told in another panel that Ms. Harris wanted to go on Joe Rogan, but there was a trans person in their group that said it would hurt her, so she didn't go. And that, my dear friend, is where the problem lies. You guys do not have an ultimate telos, because if you have an ultimate purpose for why you're doing what you're doing, then you can come back and tell certain people, hey, you got to sacrifice for the collective.
Yeah.
But if there's no goal as to where we're going, why am I sacrificing?
Right.
So, like, that's kind of like what they don't understand about how people relate to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Any of those establishment actors. But now, the main point I wanted to make about, so why would, because nobody in Washington understands this, they say, why would a Bernie Sanders supporter go and support Donald Trump? Their policies are diametrically opposed. And often they are, 80, 90% of the time. Although 10, 20% of the time, they're not, as we're seeing now, right? But mainly that's not the reason why at all. So Anna's right about a lot of things that drove people away. So the Democratic establishment they're a bunch of liars. And what's really grating on the nerves is that they're hypocrites, right? So they'll say, oh, we are the moral uprighteous party, okay? We protect the justice system and democracy, right? And like the Republicans stab you from the front.
Yeah, I think the moralizing from the Democrats is a strange development to me, because when we were coming up in the 90s, it was the Democrats that were like, left-wing people are like, man, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. You know, like, when did they become like law and order? And
Yeah,
all
I
this
don't know. Yeah.
And when
I answered my own question. That was during the Biden administration when they became law enforcement crazy. We continue. Not his administration, but he was the guy that co-sponsored and authored the crime bill. We continue.
Democrats stab you from the back, it hurts more, and it really drives people crazy. And they are elites. I mean, I was talking to a mainstream media reporter the other day, and I said, you know, look, you folks in mainstream media, you hate the populace, and you have total
They do.
Yeah.
They do. They have complete and total disdain for normal working people. We've been listening to these people. It's incredible.
It's unbelievable.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
disdain for us, and he couldn't really disagree, right? Like it'd be absurd to disagree. So if you hate us, I mean, we didn't leave because we care so much about the policies and we're obsessed with the policies. But if you just take normal folks and you go, I hate you, you better get back in line and you better obey. A lot of people are gonna leave because they hate that. That is not a fun thing to deal with. But all of that even pales in comparison to, I think, the number one reason why some folks did that switch. Because with the establishment, there is no hope. So they're never gonna go outside the guardrails. They're never not going to do what the donors want. So if you're populist, I can see how you would get super frustrated and go, look, maybe Trump's a bull in a china shop and maybe he's gonna go the wrong direction 80%, 60% of the time, whatever the number is. But at least there's like a sliver of hope that we're not stuck.
That's what somebody said. They said Trump is like a bull in the china shop, but we hate the china shop.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty insightful.
I think so.
Inside this establishment prison and inside corporate rule that we despise so much. There, I just explained it to you. But of course, don't ever have someone like me on a panel. You might accidentally find out what's real.
Okay. All right, Cenk. What's real to me, bro, is that, see, Anna went around and explained herself. Anna went around and said, this is the reason, this is what's going on, yada, yada, yada. Like I said, a week before the election, Cenk was talking about how Trump was a fascist. Argued, they had a serious altercation on air about it. Now that he's won, now he's like, oh yeah, we need to reconcile. We need to stop telling people we hate him, blah, 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 blah. It's like, what are you doing, bro? At least go on the shows and say, I was wrong here, here, and here. Like
New
Anna
script,
did.
Different,
like Anna did, right? Like, but see, I believe Anna is really genuinely changing, and I think Cenk is, I don't think he's doing it for the money. I think he's doing it because he feels this is the only hope for progressives to actually have a voice, is to work with these people or whatever.
Oh, so you think he is kind of changing his position to say, hey, we gotta try to work with these people.
You have to mediate it at some point, right? When you're one, totally true. Okay, guys, that was a good one. We will be seeing you guys very, very soon. I think we gotta, if you're on the other channel, there you go. In the meantime, dear listener, love your neighbor.
Take care of each other.